Welcome inside the RxMuscle New York studios, RxMuscle.com. This is Iron Debate, the first Iron Debate of the year 2017. This is the 5th day of January in the new year 2017. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is the show that settles all the scores. On the last episode, which was the last Iron Debate of 2016, we reviewed the year that was in bodybuilding and what an exciting year that it was. Now we start to look forward in the new year in 2017. Let's meet the panelists. First, we're going to go to the Cape Coral Studios, the now headquarters of RxMuscle.com, and check in with Dave Palumbo.
How's it going? Hopefully everyone had a great new year. I know that it was a very relaxing one here in Florida, especially since the weather was so... I hate talking about the weather, but I love the weather so much here that I want everyone to cringe because I see, I know Butch, our webmaster, had blustery, huge, crazy snowstorm up there in Colorado. I'm sure New York is pretty cold. I bet you even where John is, it's pretty cold. Chris Aceto, luckily, is in Miami right now, but he'll be back in Maine tomorrow, and I'm sure it sucks there as well. So I'm looking forward to a great 2017, and we got a lot of great stuff and original programming coming on board, new websites, interfaces coming out, and a lot of great stuff I think that we're going to be showcasing on RxMuscle.com.
Let's go up to Lexington, South Carolina, meet the man they call Boss Number 2, John Romano. John, how's it going in South Carolina?
Pretty good. It's since we're talking about the weather, it's about 54 here, a little blustery, sun partly cloudy, winds out of the northwest at about 4 miles an hour. just another day in paradise.
And we go back to a cold weather location, Portland, Maine, and check in with the man they call the technician, Chris Aceto. Chris, how you doing today?
Hey, my iPhone tells me it's 29 in Portland, Maine. I'm still in Miami where it's 82. But I will be there tomorrow, and my driveway has, I swear, 2 inches of ice. I had to pay someone today to chop it all up so that my driveway's on a hill so that I could get up it. I'm not looking forward to it.
Well, for those wondering, it is about 30 degrees here in New York, so it is mildly tolerable. But we now get into the matter at hand, and that is the upcoming Arnold Classic. Hard to believe we're sitting here on the 5th day of January. We are literally only 2 months away from being in Columbus, Ohio for the 2017 Arnold Classic. And the question is this: given the fact that this year, and it is confirmed, this is going to be the second year in a row where the posing round is going to be scored at the Arnold Classic. I'm going to recap the 2017 competitors list, highlighted by Cedric McMillan, Fuad Abiyad, Lionel Beyeke, who won the San Marino Pro, Max Charles, Vitaly Fativ, Will Harris, Michael Lockett, Dallas McCarver, Juan Morel, and Luke Sandow. So here is the topic at hand. Given that the posing round is going to be scored again, is this Cedric McMillan's show to win, or show to lose rather, or are we going to have someone like a Dallas McCarver or the aforementioned Lionel Beyeke sneak up and take the Arnold title? Chris Aceto, we go to you first in this one.
Well, obviously, I mean, there's a lot of questions in that one question. Obviously, it's Cedric's, show to lose. I mean, he won it last year. He won the prejudging. He won the bodybuilding portion of the finals. What he did lose is the posing round, and so we're being told that the posing is being judged again. My issue with the posing round is kind of like the challenge round of the Olympia a few years ago. You'd have Ronnie and Jay, and although Gustavo Bedell is a great bodybuilder, you'd have Gustavo beating them, both of them, 2 years straight. So technically, you know what I mean? You could say, well, he's Mr. Olympia. He beat these guys, quote, pose for pose. So it waters down. It doesn't add strength to the competition. I think it's a hindrance to the competition. And, while I like to see good posing routines too, my dilemma last year was, personally, yes, of course I'm biased. I had Cedric winning the prejudging convincingly. I had it very, very close at the night show. I could see where judges on a bodybuilding, muscularity, conditioning component could go with Kai at night. It was very close. And I usually hate Kai's routines, but I was very entertained with his routine last year. So, and regretfully so. I was hoping that it wouldn't be a great routine, and it started off great and ended great. And if I was judging it for an entertainment value, and I guess bodybuilding fans want to be entertained, right? Why? And that's the whole purpose of judging the routine round. Then I'd give it to him, so he comes out the winner. But from a bodybuilding purist point of view, I still don't like that it factors in to who can be the winner. And I'll play devil's advocate. This is going to be a rematch in the 212. I'm telling you right now, if Jose Raymond,
Yeah.
right, felt for blood, he wants revenge on Yamagishi, who he beat twice last year after Yamagishi beat him at the Arnold. Yamagishi, it's the same judging panel. Yamagishi beat him in the posing round. I mean, Yamagishi's going to do the same. He can't create a new routine. He's 42 years old. He's been doing the same routine since he was 20. And neither can Jose. He's going to pull a vacuum. He's going to have journey music. He's going to have most muscular shots. He's going to have veins everywhere. It's the same routine. So what do you do as a judge? Say, well, last year I liked Hyde's, and this year I liked Jose's. So judging that is problematic for me.
I was going to bring up the 212 because that's specifically what Jose Raymond said or he expressed and what was expressed about that one-on-one between him and Hide and just the impact that the posing round and being scored had on the 212 division. But John, I'm going to go to you and I'm going to address this in two parts. One, obviously, your thoughts on whether or not this is Cedric's show to lose or whether or not there's going to be someone like a Dallas McCarver or Lionel Beyeke who's going to jump up and take that top spot away from him. But to your point, and something that you've underscored on a few different episodes between Iron Rage, Iron Debate, you want some more entertainment in bodybuilding. You want some more variety. So on that point, do you agree in the weight that the posing round has as far as the Arnold final decision is concerned?
Well, yes and no. I mean, first of all, you could take a guy who is not I don't want to drop any names to offend anybody, but you could take a guy who's like not a spectacular bodybuilder in the top three sense, pose for pose with the top three guys. And then you can take a guy who's like in 10th place, but he poses like a rock star and he brings the house down. He's the number one poser. Now that 33% of that score now puts him in the top three. So, I think the entertainment value in this case is mitigated by the fact by how the posing round screws up or potentially could screw up the placings of the legitimate competition in the contest. So like Chris said, this is Cedric's show to lose, but let's say Will Harris has an amazing posing routine, now what happens? I think if you want to entertain the audience, you entertain the audience. If you want to put a wrench in the gears as far as judging the contest goes, then make the posing routine count for a third of the score. Now you've screwed everything up. So to my point of adding entertainment to the contest, absolutely. I think the posing rounds are really important. I think the competitors should be given greater latitude with their posing and being able to use, props and, other whatever, to entertain the crowd. But as far as counting it so heavily, 33% is a tremendous amount of weight to add to a posing routine that could ostensibly take someone who is legitimately not in the top three and put him in the top three. And, then what do you got to do? Then you have to it's like the even playing field. There's no such thing. So now there's going to be no such thing in bodybuilding because in order to be a top three competitor, you got to go take dance classes. So, I see it. I don't see it as a cogent solution to both adding entertainment and then and making fair the judging. So I think if I were Cedric McMillan, I'd put my ballet slippers on and get out there and try to do some plies and some gymnastics and shit and ensure his win. Because look, legitimately, and any one of those guys that's 5th through 10th could put on a Kai Green caliber posing routine, and then everything's all screwed up.
Dave, let's go to you on the final award on this topic. Again, the topic is whether this is Cedric's show to lose or whether or not somebody from that core, including Dallas McCarver or Lionel Beyeke, can jump up and take the crown away from Cedric, who 2 years ago came in, I believe, fourth. And, of course, Arnold a couple of days later said that he was, quote-unquote, pissed that Cedric finished fourth, and he's a fan of his physique. And then last year coming in second, narrowly losing to Kai Green. So let's start with you on this one. Is this Cedric show to lose? Before we get into the weight that the posing round will have for the second year in a row.
My question is, how did Will Harris get invited? That's what I want to know. Who invited him? I mean, he is the oldest guy in the lineup. I mean, at 650 years old, being a vampire and all. But how did he get invited? That's what I want to know. Because he hasn't competed in years, and I don't know. I don't think Cedric could lose this show, and I'll tell you why. Because if you look at the guys who are right behind him, the Beyekes, the Dallas McCarvers, even Juan Morel obviously has to be considered a serious threat in that lineup. None of them pose better than him. Okay? He happened to go against the one guy who's a better poser than him, which is Kai Green. Cedric is an excellent poser. No one's beaten Cedric in that posing round. If anything, it's going to help Cedric. It's not going to hurt him this year. Okay? So if Cedric's in that one or two, first or second place position after prejudging, I think the posing round will push him over the top. So I think we're going to see a Cedric McMillan victory this year. Lionel Beyeke is not a great poser by any means. He's okay. He's entertaining. Dallas McCarver doesn't do anything for me, and Juan Morel's not a great poser on stage. So no one's challenging Cedric in that regard. How it affects the other guys in the lineup in their placings, that might be interesting. I personally believe that it's going to be Cedric first, and I think Lionel Beyeke is going to surprise people. I think he's going to have a very good shot at being in that second position. Obviously, we don't know who's going to look like what until the day of the show, but I'm completely in support of what John said. These guys better go out and get a posing coach and learn how to pose and put together an interesting, entertaining routine that has more than one music change, guys. You can't use one song on a 3-minute routine. It's too long and boring. Hire someone like a Johnny Styles to put together a bunch of music for you, and then get a choreographer and choreograph it to the music. Believe me, not only will it help you score, but it'll actually entertain us idiots that have to sit in the audience and watch this, okay? So I'm glad they're scoring the posing round. Is 33% too much? It probably is. It probably should be more like 20% or 15%. But regardless, that's what they're doing. I think Cedric is the clear-cut favorite here.
Let's get a couple of quick hitters. I'm going to go across the board and ask you all the same question. Let's get a quick thought on, Chris, I'll go to you first on this one. In your opinion, given this is the second year in a row, is the posing round and the weight that it has for scoring, is this going to stick around for a while? Is this something that we as bodybuilding fans, pundits, and for the competitors should get used to, or at least as far as the Arnold Classic is concerned?
I think the latter part is concerned, with the Arnold shows, yes, because I think it's something that Arnold wants to implement and see, it's his baby, right? And it's only done at his show. So in terms of it's going to be around, because it's what Arnold wants around. Just like it's an invitational show. You can't just qualify for the Arnold. You have to be chosen. So it's a show where you have to be chosen, and the posing will be judged.
John, what say you?
I kind of agree with Chris. I think it is because of what Arnold wants, Arnold gets. But I think as a practical matter, 1/3 is just too much. Just like Dave said, maybe 15, maybe 20%. I mean, it should count. It should definitely count. But to be counted as a third, it's just not fair. I mean, some guys just can't move, and they shouldn't be penalized because they're not, light on their feet. I mean, just not everybody can move like that. We've been really spoiled as an industry with some of the guys that, going all the way back to Ron Love, Flex Wheeler, certainly Kai Green. These are guys that are phenomenal posers. Darren Charles, an amazing poser.
Right.
But that should not. I mean, this is bodybuilding. This is not America's Got Talent. So we should weight the bodybuilding aspect, the conditioning, the muscularity, the symmetry. These are the things that define a bodybuilder, not how well they can pose. I mean, definitely posing is an important and vital component to your presentation. But 1/3 is just too damn much. So I'm hopeful that as time goes on, the constituency realizes this and that we affect some change and lighten up the weight of the posing routine and make the other aspects, the other components of bodybuilding presentation more important. I can only hope, but it's got to be Arnold's choice, so we have to wait and see.
Dave, let's go to you. Final word on this one. Is the scoring, as we know it in the posing round, here to stay?
Sid, I don't think that they're going to keep it around after this year. I disagree with these guys. I know Arnold wants it. I think they're going to give him one more year, one more shot at it, and I think they'll probably do away with it. And they're just going to be like, you know what, we don't need this anymore because it's not serving its purpose. To be honest with you, if they really want to, quantify bodybuilding score, judging, rather than just say, oh, this judge thinks this guy won, this guy should be second, third, fourth, fifth, maybe we should have some criteria like check boxes like bicep or arm development or, arm to calf ratio or waist or V-tape or, maybe there should be some check boxes you have to check off and you can rank different aspects of it, kind of like they do in gymnastics where they score the different parts of the routine. Because that would be more interesting maybe than seeing who's the best entertainer, even though I like that, and that's a great aspect as a fan to watch. John's right. It's really not a dance competition. It's not an entertainment. It's not a talent competition. It's a physique competition. So I think we need to quantify a little bit more the physique development.
One quick hitter from each of you. We talked about Cedric McMillan and arguably the odds-on favorite to win the 2017 Arnold Classic. And then you can consider Lionel Beyeke, Juan Morel, obviously Dallas McCarver, someone that a lot of bodybuilding fans are almost expecting now that he's working with Chad Nichols to take that next step forward. I'm going to run through some other names. Give me the wild card of the 2017 Arnold Classic. Fouad Abiad, Max Charles, Vitaly Fativ, Dave's aforementioned Will Harris, Michael Lockett, Luke Sando, the British powerhouse. Chris, who's the X factor out of that lineup?
Out of those guys, it's Fouad because he's complete, and completeness, shows up when it's in good condition on stage.
John?
I'm a Dallas McCarver fan. I like huge, giant, enormous, shredded bodybuilders, and that's, he's young, he's coming up, he's been a pro for a couple of years, and like you said, now that he's working with Chad, we expect big things out of him. But I think he'll be the wild card. I hope he'll be the wild card.
Dave, who's your wild card of the 2017 Arnold Classic?
I think Michael Lockett will actually go into this show unexpected, and they added his name to the lineup just recently. He wasn't on the initial list. I think he will show up. No one will be expecting this guy. He's going to be probably the hardest guy on stage. He's been making improvements every time we see him up there, assuming he doesn't have any domestic problems at home. I think he could shock a lot of people. I think he'll be the surprise of the lineup. That's my prediction.
This is Iron Debate on RxMuscle.com, RX Television original programming for you, the fans of bodybuilding. This is Iron Debate. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. We now move on to our second topic, and one of the foremost authorities on steroids and steroid law is Rick Collins. He recently penned an article about the rise in usage amongst teens of steroids, and this is the question. Obviously, it's who's to blame, where does this come from? And one idea that Dave brought up was that we live in the YouTube generation where basically anything you need to know, the do-it-yourselfer, you have your answers there. Why? Because there's so many personalities talking about exactly what it is, and so many bodybuilders or these YouTube sensations going out and putting their own steroid protocols or what it is that they do. And all this information is so much more readily available. So, John Romano, we're going to go to you first on this one. The rise in steroids amongst teens. Who's to blame? And is it the YouTube sensation generation?
When you say blame, it sounds like it's a bad thing. And you know, that's a matter of debate. I think it's a couple things. I don't think YouTube had anything whatsoever to do with it. The internet, yes. YouTube specifically, no. And I'll tell you why. 15 years ago, we had the baseball strikes, the baseball scandal, the steroids in baseball scandal. Don Hooton was testifying in front of Congress that steroids killed his kid. We had steroid hysteria. We had, steroid deaths and violence and murders being blamed on steroids. We had all this going on in the media. And now 15 years has gone by and it's never happened again. So I obviously, I think people realize, well, wait a minute, this was all bullshit. None of this shit happened. So that and the fact that, yeah, the internet is rife with information and news and how-tos. And, you can lump YouTube in there with all of that if you want to. Well, I think we've just learned through history that steroids are not that bad. They're easy to control. They're extremely easy to get now because of the proliferation of the underground labs within the confines of the United States. It means that there's no importation necessary. So it completely mitigates significantly the chance of getting caught, importing anything. And the numbers of them have significantly grown with, great, sources of raw materials from China and India and Pakistan. So, there's a lot of juice being made in the United States by a lot of guys making credible, real products. And there has been no verifiable, realistic. So it's steroid dangers have been largely proven to be false. The hysteria has died down. The media and the DEA are onto other things. Heroin is making a big comeback now. You got things like bath salts that make people eat the other guy's face off. And you have bigger fish to fry with terrorists and other things. So the focus publicly has been pretty much off of steroids for over a decade now. And we just don't have the pile of bodies. I famously coined the phrase 15 years ago, show me the bodies. And 15 years later, there still aren't any. So I think people have gotten wise to the fact that steroids, number one, work. Number two, quality steroids are now much easier to get than ever. And number three, they're relatively innocuous given the fact that there's little to no reported adverse events. So add those three things together, and the fact that we all know that, and it's been perfectly documented in just about every sport everywhere, that the only people not using steroids are the ones that are losing in sports, and among them, probably 50% are using them. So we know that elite athletes all use them. We know where they can be had relatively easily. We know they're not that dangerous. We know that you can manage them safely and have plenty of help online in managing their use. And the fact that you don't have to import them and risk that, importation beef. So add it all together, and it's just a no-brainer that more people, and it's not just kids, it's everybody. I think to pigeonhole teens in all of this is very unfair, because all athletes, from every age group, from teens up to aging baby boomers, are all using juice for one reason or another. Be it anti-aging, be it just to look good at the beach or excel at a sport, make an Olympic team, whatever. I have CrossFit clients. It's interesting. The majority of my coaching clients now are no longer bodybuilders; they're CrossFit athletes, and they're CrossFit athletes who want to use juice and pass the drug test. And they range in all age groups. I have guys who are 19 and up to guys who are 30 years old. So in my particular business and in my outlook, I've noticed an increase across the board, completely across the board. And if you look at, the availability, the ease of use, the lack of adverse events reported, and the lack of reported investigations that have yielded tremendous busts and big jail time. All of that's missing from the media. So I think it kind of like opens the door now for everybody to use it. It's like smoking weed. Weed was illegal. It was a big thing. Reefer madness in the 60s. Now everybody smokes weed. Nobody's dying. Nobody's jumping off bridges. Nobody's going crazy. Nobody's gatewaying to heroin and PCP. Everybody knows it was all bullshit. It's innocuous. So I think the same thing has happened with steroids. The genie cannot be put back in the bottle. And the fact that history has proven their safety and efficacy is tantamount to the fact that more and more and more people are using them.
Chris, let's go to you on this one again. The topic at hand is more so focused on teens only because the nature of the article written by Rick Collins. And the question again, even if not say blame, but do you attribute, given the knowledge that's available now and all the how-to and the demonstrations put on by YouTube personalities, and we live in a generation of do-it-yourselfers. That's why YouTube is so popular as an information resource. Do you attribute the teen usage to, I guess, what it is that they see on YouTube and the internet?
Yeah, I'm sure the internet is a facilitator, right? Because you have to get the information from somewhere. Maybe 20 years ago, you'd have to go to the gym and ask somebody, and you'd have to, be confident enough to go up to somebody and ask them, and not be embarrassed. Now you can just turn on your iPhone and Google it, or go to YouTube, and all the information is right there. But also this kind of phony veil has been removed in sports. I think people realize that professional athletes, baseball players, they use performance-enhancing drugs. Olympians, they use performance-enhancing drugs. And I know there's Olympians listening who's, I don't. Well, maybe you don't. But we all know people who do. And they've won medals. And there's, the people in the NFL, we have the strictest. Yeah, sure you do. You have the strictest drug testing policy. You know what? We all know. We know that they use them. And teens aren't stupid. They figure out that they do too, and kids in college use them. So, they're emulating, what they see, success is, and that's, fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to put a judgment value on it, they're copying what they see. Personally, I don't want my teenage kids, using anabolic steroids for sports. That's my own personal, and outlook, and I hope that they don't, and are involved in other things. But I can't, I'm sure there's it just makes 100% sense to me that the steroids are so accessible, as John says, these days, and you don't see the scare stories, and you see so much information out there on YouTube and the internet, and just draw it up on Google, and that makes it very easy for somebody who's 16, 17, 18, who wants to gain 10 pounds over the summer, to play high school football, to, either call one of his buddies or, dial up one of these underground pharmacies that, are readily available on the internet.
Dave, let's go to you for this final word on this topic. Again, the topic is based off Rick Collins' article about the usage, a spike in usage amongst teens, steroids. And the question is, do you attribute that to what's available, especially on YouTube, because of the videos and all the personalities and the way that they use it and the information that they put out about how they use it? Is that what you attribute it to?
Absolutely. We're literally one bipolar kid who watches Enhanced Muscles YouTube channel, Enhanced Athletes YouTube channel, and goes and does a crazy cycle. His parents find it, take it away from him, and he becomes suicidal. Hopefully doesn't commit suicide, but attempts it or something like that maybe. And all the lawmakers will be jumping all over steroids again. All the YouTube channels will be, being watched by the feds, and they'll be trying to bust, and they'll be busting people left and right. We're one incident away. And you know it's going to happen again. I hope it doesn't happen for 30 years, but it's going to happen probably within the next 5 years, maybe sooner. And all this will come tumbling down, and everyone will be witch hunting the steroids again. It's inevitable. It always happens. John, you know this. There's cycles. It's like a 5-year, 6-year cycle. You know, and then just as it's calming down again, like it is right now, it's pretty calm. There's another incident. But I know it. I see it all the time. I see people. I have these kooky kids contacting me, wanting me to work with them, and I could tell they're OCD or bipolar. They're up, down, and they got to take steroids now because they want to be Jeremy Buendia on stage. And I get all these emails. I know you get them too, Chris. You probably just block them. I actually respond to these people because I'm crazy, but I'm a glutton for punishment. But they're out there, and these people are not stable enough to be taking anabolic steroids, and they're too readily available through the internet now. And I just think that we're treading on dangerous territory. That's why we try to educate people here on the RxMuscle channel, because there is a lot of irresponsible use out there. I know there's a lot of fun stuff. I love Anthony Tony Huge and his channel, Enhanced Athlete. But you know what? Kids don't understand that they're being goofy on there, and they take them seriously, and that's a problem, you know.
Let's go to our last topic. Again, you're watching Iron Debate on RxMuscle.com. New Year's resolutions. Now, John Romano and Dave Palumbo just did an episode of Iron Rage on the New Year's resolutions gym crowd and whether or not their New Year's resolutions are getting in the way of others and their gym routines. Well, here's the question, because again, this topic comes up every time the calendar turns as to whether or not we should be annoyed, whether or not it is a bad thing, or whether or not everybody should be more accommodating of the fact that people are looking to take this opportunity to better themselves. Or here's a question. Are New Year's resolutions for lazy people, procrastinators, or is this a positive mental checkpoint of the year where they get to refocus themselves mentally, physically, and put it towards good use? Is this a solid time, line in the sand where they do get to do that? And is it a productive thing? So, Chris Aceto, you haven't gotten a chance to time in on this topic yet, so we'll go to you first on this one. Where do you stand?
Well, I think human beings are experts at procrastination. So, I don't even, it's like the chicken or the egg. What came first, the New Year's resolution or the ability to procrastinate? I just see it as, at this point, an exercise in futility. I mean, people make them, and it's 4 days later, and they're off the rails. Success in changing your body doesn't come from, December 31st changing over to January 1st, and it's just for most people, just a pat on the back to make them feel good.
John, where do you stand in this one? Is it really just a checkpoint for lazy people, procrastination, just to put away everything? I'm going to focus on it after January 1st. Or is it a time of constructive refocusing for the mind?
It's pathetic, is what it is. If you couldn't do something last year, what the hell is the difference this year? I mean, it makes absolutely no difference. So if you want to use a point in time, like as bodybuilders, use a point in time in the future, they're going to get ready for a show. Okay, so you've set a goal for yourself, and this is your start date. Yeah, okay, I could see that, and everybody makes a very popular start date of January 1st. But as it having any significance in terms of resolution, it's ridiculous. If you aren't resolute in what you're trying to accomplish, it doesn't matter if it's 2016 or 2017 or mid-year or at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year. If you're a loser, you're a loser, and the calendar makes no difference. So I see zero credibility in a New Year's resolution. All it is a popular way of clogging up the gym with a bunch of people who are going to be gone by March 1st. So I think focusing on the exact date of January 1st is preposterous. It means absolutely nothing. You shouldn't need Look, I can also understand. Look, the holidays, people, Christmas is one of those holidays that revolves around food, and there's a lot of eating and a lot of visiting and relatives. And if you're coming from an ethnic family like I do, you have traditions and lots of food, and your grandmothers are cooking, and it's. So, it's a great week to gain 10 or 15 pounds, and January 1st rolls around, I'm going to get back to the gym. But as far as a resolution go, it's not just limited to working out. I mean, people make resolutions to find a new love interest, to get a better job, to increase their education, whatever. I think to make January 1st the end all or date to begin all of this is ridiculous. You do it now. Don't wait. Don't, wait to make a resolution. You're going to do something, do it. Don't, have to find a date way into the future. I mean, in April, if I decide I want to get my contractor's license, I'm going to get it in April. I'm not going to say, I'm going to wait till the new year. So it's stupid. I think it's the most ridiculous custom that pop culture has integrated into the American lexicon. I wish it would disappear.
Dave Palumbo, final word on this one. New Year's resolutions. Is it a point of procrastination for lazy people, or do you find it to be a constructive point in time to mentally and physically refocus?
I wrote an article a couple of years ago about how I thought that New Year's resolutions was basically a joke, because all the points that John and Chris just said, if you want to do it, you do it now. Okay, that's always been my take on it. But I do believe that if people use the New Year's resolution, the resolution they're making to change themselves or be better, and they actually stick by it, then it's a good construct. It's a good new outlook on their lives. The problem is that most people fail at them, and because they don't really they're basically just, I'll put it off to New Year's, I'll put it off to New Year's, put it off to New Year's. New Year's comes, they're like, oh shit, I got to do my New Year's resolution now. They don't really want to do it. So if you don't really want to do something, you're not going to stick to it. That's the bottom line. But for people who say, hey, you know what, I have bodybuilders that I work with. I'm like, all right, January 2nd, we start your contest diet. And like a clock, January 2nd comes, they're on the diet, and no more cheating, no more drinking, no more nothing. And for those people, that's a good resolution. Okay, I start my contest diet January 2nd. But for most people, it's a failure, and it's annoying. It's annoying to us people that aren't lazy and aren't procrastinators when it comes to these things, especially physique. When people make New Year's resolutions to get in better shape, to get back to the gym, to train, when I see people failing at that, I'm like, it's almost like laughable. Because if you want to get yourself in shape, go to the gym and get in shape today, not tomorrow, not in a week, not in a month, not in 2 months. Today. I have people contact me on the phone to do phone consults. They're like, I got to change my life. I haven't done this and this. I said, you know what? They're like, when does the diet start? I said, right when you get off the phone, you go into the supermarket, and it's starting right now. Right now, because if you start it now, there's no chance that it's not going to work. If you wait tomorrow till Monday, you'll lose all the enthusiasm for what you're doing. So guys, if you're out there and you want to make a change in your life, don't wait for a date. Don't wait for when you feel like the time is right. The time is right now. If you're envisioning it and you're thinking it in your head, go do it.
On that note, that is going to do it for this episode of Iron Debate. That was a lot of fun. With the Arnold coming up, so expect a lot of content, a lot of coverage, a lot of interviews with the competitors from the Arnold Classic, all sorts of analysis, breakdown of the upcoming matchups, and of course, the interviews live with, and of course, the road to the 2017 Arnold Classic. For John Romano, Chris Aceto, Dave Palumbo, and Johnny Styles, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.